Hey, what's up, nerd fam? Let's just get straight into it. For me, Mortal Kombat 2 was boiled ass. Here's why. If you're a person who loves the characters that are only the characters by name, a lot of punchlines and jokes that don't need it and were forced, disrespect to the characters by way of not using their gigantic mythology, or at least even part of it, to give them some depth, even continuity errors, maybe a few signature moves here, some fatalities, and even some really cheap costumes and flimsy CGI. If that is all okay with you, you're gonna love this movie. However, for me, as a person who has played this game for its entirety and understanding that there's a deep mythology to this, a tone that can make an excellent series of movies, not just one, this was something very agitating. And I can't be surprised because these are the same people who made the first one, and that was also really agitating. So I can't say that I'm surprised. But it's still frustrating when we see it, when we know that a lot of this could have been course corrected in a way that made sense. But let me start with some of the few positives that are actually in this movie. A lot of the casting I'm okay with. I'm actually okay with Martin Ford. I'm okay with Ludi Lin as Liu Kang, a person that plays Sonya Blade, Kung Lao, not Jade for obvious reasons, like stop it, Katana, even Raiden. Just the casting. The portrayals are a different thing as far as how they act in their story, but just a lot of the actors, they can remain there. I probably wouldn't choose Scorpion. Mind you, I love the actor Hiroyuki Sanada, but I just think that he's a bit older for it, but they can still do some things. Either way, most of the casting I'm okay with. My issue is the treatment of the characters. And some people go like, well, isn't it just all right the way it is? If you haven't played the games and only know them on surface level, I understand you having that opinion. But let me tell you what you miss out on some of the characters. We can start out with Shao Kahn, right? Shao Kahn is made to be almost a brute. There's a physical force in this. But in the games, he is actually a tactician. He's a sorcerer. He takes souls himself, and he's somebody who takes a long time to deal with because of how smart he is. Not just because he's a strong force. But, like I said, I did like Martin Ford's presence as him, but as far as how they portrayed him, not good. Now, moving on in relation to that, Katana. The relationship between him and her and what happened with their father in the films, right, of her father in the films, is only about 20 to 25 years in the film. In the games, it spans centuries. It's extremely slow burn. So for her to, spoiler alert, if I haven't already said that in the beginning, for her to do what she does to him in this film already makes him seem extremely weak and gets her to a point so fast that narratively, it just doesn't really make much sense, right? Then let's move forward. What about Liu Kang? Liu Kang is Earthrealm's protector. That is his destiny. That is what drives him. To make him focus all of a sudden on just resurrecting Kung Lao for some reason versus protecting the Earth. Usually Kung Lao's death in the games is what brings him closer to his destiny. Not makes him go on this weird side quest and become obsessed with it and make him a side character at that, right? Also, Kung Lao is another person who, as far as casting, is absolutely fine with me, right? Noob Saibot. Noob Saibot's journey, well, they don't even call him Noob Saibot, they just call him Bihan, who is the first Sub-Zero. His journey from Sub-Zero to this Wraith in the games is one of the coolest storylines that's out there, especially his relationship to his younger brother, right? And his younger brother, chronologically in the games, is revealed first, and then we don't actually have a full reveal about who he really is all the way up until, like, Deception. He's actually in the shadows in, like, Mortal Kombat 2 and stuff like that, but Kuai Lang, the second Sub-Zero, actually comes first. Gigantic missed opportunity a couple of ways. One, to show off that relationship and talk about what that is. Two, they don't explain how Bihan goes from Sub-Zero in the first movie, dies, and becomes this Wraith. They just say he controls it. And they make his shadow, instead of just being a projection of his powers, they make it a other sentient being, which, once again, is weird when it comes to his powers. You take away that whole brother aspect, which hasn't come. They might say, oh, he's going to be there in a third movie. But once again, why not make it a part of this film? There was no reason not to. But, whatever, right? Reasons. Next, Scorpion, right? Scorpion pretty much acts as a GPS for the heroes to find the Netherrealm. And instead of him, once again, being this complicated hero where he's this rage-driven, also Wraith, betrayed and confused by Quan Chi, because Quan Chi's the one that made him think that certain things happened with his family that didn't. He is now in only hero mode. They remove all his complexity, and we get what we get here. Somebody who's like almost guarding the Netherrealm and must come to defeat this dude happily. Like the happy ghost, the happy spear-throwing samurai ghost. It's such a weird thing. Johnny Cage, instead of being the ego-driven accidental hero, he is more of a washed-up movie star thing, and it's not really what it is. And his powers are like accidental, based off of destiny versus his lineage, which we've seen to be revealed in the movies. In the games, right? So, And Jax and Sonya, super in the back. Sonya is kind of reduced to this will they, won't they thing because Kano isn't her main foil. And she usually is chasing Kano for the majority. So even him dying in the first film, that probably happened too soon. And Jax's, whole man versus machine thing isn't there because they made the whole Arcana thing and they dig deep into that again, which once again takes away the disservice for these characters, right? I'm trying to see if I'm missing Raiden. Raiden is an elder god. He is someone who's extremely powerful, but in this movie, he's just tied down politically and can't do certain things. And he seems more like a worried mentor the entire time, with his hands tied behind his back. For what? And he's rendered literally useless. Shang Tsung, somebody who is the main villain, is now this like cowering person rather than being this plotting person that is trying to figure out his next move when it comes to Shao Kahn. Once again, relegated to the sideline. Quan Chi. We know how instrumental Quan Chi has been for a lot of these stories in the games, if you've played. But in this, he's just a necromancer who can just bring back people as revenants, something that doesn't come until much later, so you don't really understand why that's a thing. And even at the end of the movie, what do? They're like, we gotta go get our friends back after a few of them die. Like they're gonna go collect the Dragon Balls and go wish Goku and them back. That's pretty much how they treat it. So the stakes are literally erased by that time. A lot of these characters you didn't even really get attached to care if they died. And that's something that the games do very, very well. As far as the fight scenes, this is called Mortal Kombat. So the choreography is very, very important. There was a lot of CG and they did at least try to insert a lot of the signature moves. But a lot of things just kind of happened for no reason. The psychology behind these fight scenes was pretty much non-existent. And that's something that I always hate about choreography. Now, the Liu Kang and Kung Lao scene was interesting visually because they made it look more like the games, which is cool. But there was a lot of unnecessary flips, unnecessary circular motions. If you understand fight scenes, you understand what I'm talking about. But I understand why that's a lot of people's favorites, right? The whole teleporting, they did a lot of cool stuff when it came to that. But there were a lot of things that were just unnecessary just for eye candy. One of the better fight scenes was really Sonya and Sindel because everything that was done there had a reason for being done. The psychology was much better in that part there. But even like the Cole Young thing, another character who, not saying I liked it, but it was clear that they were hearing the fans and they just wanted to get rid of him narratively. Let's just get rid of him very abruptly. But you tied him so close to an iconic character in Scorpion that this just seems so heavy-handed and not really organized, just getting rid of him that way after you propped him up like that in the first movie. It's such a weird thing to do. But yes, like I said, choreography was very strange. It was in the first movie, and it just kind of continues here. It didn't have to be, especially when the first film, and maybe even some of the second, meaning the first Mortal Kombat 95, and then Annihilation, and I believe 97, had choreography that was a lot of physicality and obviously some superpowers, but it was more about how do we dominate each other to the death. For that to have a better handle on the tone and atmosphere of the movies 30 years prior than what's happening here is absolutely nuts when they have way more source material to go on. And now there's a higher expectation when it comes to movies with source material, but they don't care. They clearly do not care when it comes to this. And I love Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero is one of my most favorite characters in a video game ever. He has a great storyline. So many of these characters do. But we get this, and I'm not really sure why we got this, but we did. They're gonna make a third one. You know what's gonna happen. I honestly, I probably don't care. I probably will just wait until that goes on HBO Max at this point. What do you think? Did you love this movie? Is this the best movie you've ever seen? Look, hold on. Before I even do that, my 8-year-old son saw the original movies afterwards and said that these were better. Like, watch that iconic scene with Reptile, which, by the way, not all that makes sense. You know, the whole throwing him into the statue thing. But that whole, when they say Reptile, you know, they do that. Like, little bits of fan service there. But those fights were at least, you know, they were cool. Not saying that they were perfect. Those movies were not perfect, especially Annihilation. We're not going to lie about that and be delusional. But they felt more like Mortal Kombat films and whatever the hell it is that we're getting now. And that's really sad considering that we're 30 years removed from that. What do you think? Was this the best movie ever? Or did it leave much to be desired? Let me know and enter the nerd.